tessellation masks that he does with a, well, the ones I've seen, he starts with a hexagonal grid, which just seems like an awful lot of folding to me. So I started trying to do a similar thing, but starting with a square grid, pleated all across the paper. And yes, all I wound up with was a nose, but it was quite a nice way to do a nose. And then I decided I don't need any of all that creasing across the paper. I just need the nose. So that's. But of course I got carried away and put in the eyes and mouth and things. But I still actually I quite like the ones with just the nose. But and then these ones with the wax and the foil. This was actually, I was just playing with a foil wrapper from a chocolate bar from a rival company. Probably foil it's quite flimsy, so as soon as you sit on it, it gets crushed. I've been playing with dipping stuff in wax for a while, and when I dipped this in wax, I realised because the foil is impermeable, you can basically pour as much molten wax in as you like, and then when it solidifies, you can get basically a nice thick layer of wax, which gives it stability and weight. So if you pick these up, they're actually surprisingly heavy for paper. But the trouble with foil is it's also too shiny. Foil is things I like about foil, but it's just too shiny. So I've painted them with acrylic ink to try and get a bronze look. But makes them less shiny, but it still doesn't really look like bronze. But anyway, that's about all I want to say.
Thank you, Mark.
Actually, a machine knitter, my job is, and I've started making knitting with wire recently for the last few years. And I also enjoy making jewellery. And my friends know that I do origami, so the challenge was thrown out. Okay, Erica, make some machine knitted jewellery out of wire that is origami. So I made these, which are just made from a little square of wire which is knitted on a knitting machine, which takes about 2 minutes to knit, and then you fold a water bomb base and then manipulate it until it looks nice and you don't mind having these dangling from your ears. So that was that.
I was teaching that yesterday and also teaching it later today, in fact after this. This model was actually made for a window display we did for the Japan Centre. So that was one of the many models that the London members contributed. So this was an attempt to do sort of a large angle from one piece. It uses a similar design actually to this model in that it mainly uses a frog and bird base. So then a few little changes to make that, to make the wings, etc. It's coated using polyurethane spray, which is the first time I've tried polyurethane to try and make the model a bit more solid, effectively. But in effect, it still is quite flexible. So I'm sort of following a similar line to Mark, who described his work earlier, trying to get a more solid model, but it's not easy. But that's something I'll explain.
This peacock, well, I was folding it, I was inspired to some poetry. I've made a lovely fold to show this year, because the spring convention's nearly here. A peacock with a gorgeous spreading tail. It's beautiful and surely cannot fail. The finest handmade carving, nothing less, will show my peacock at its brilliant best. With this in mind, I travelled into town, where the greatest paper merchants can be found. Down Twitchell Road and twisting Cobble Street, I walked until the blisters on my feet had burst, and there at last my goal I spied. I pushed the door and slowly walked inside. The brass bell clanged, I softly closed the door. On shelves and racks and piles upon the floor, the stock, at least 1,000 different hues, countless reams from which I had to choose. Papers from all lands were here displayed, with common and exotic fibres laid, tissue paper thin as insect wings, and construction card fit for the thrones of kings. I caressed the papers with a lover's sigh, while wondering which single square to buy. Greenish blue with faint metallic glimmer, or purples with an iridescent shimmer. For 60 joy-filled minutes, maybe more, I thought about the choices in the store. When choosing paper, always take your time. I did, I chose, I bought, one square was mine. The paper, brilliant turquoise flecked with gold, so beautiful it seemed a shame to fold. I took the paper home with utmost care. I couldn't risk a single rip or tear. Returning to my studio once more, I laid the paper out and gazed in awe. Then carefully I smoothed the paper flat and folded both diagonals, like that. Now where are the craftsmen who in ancient days could trim your paper in a million ways, each cut precise, the angle's only truth? Oh, where the expert craftsmen of my youth? I ask because I'm tearing out my hair. My origami paper's not quite square.
Thank you very much.
This is a chocolate egg. Wrapped up, it's wrapped up with a bow on. So there, I did my bit on the chocolate.
The train set, unfortunately the box had a hole in it, so it was a little bit dusty. So it's so after having blown all the dust off, or some of it off, there's all the pieces of the train set I could find. The insects were, I think, the spider and the fly are actually in the original, one of Eric's books. He used it on the back page, which unfortunately wasn't reprinted. I'm very sad about that. But the Jack in the Box appears in another of Eric's books. The seahorses are folded back from touch because they're so small I couldn't see what I was doing. But the new folds I've got this time are just the chest set. It's based on the way I made the heads for the nativity scene.
Denver, I've got 4 little cups on mine. See if you can get them in the little cups.
Well done, Ricky.
A few words, Ricky.
I just want to thank my mum and my agents. I love you all.
Right, that's enough
Thank
for
you,
me.
everybody, for taking part in that.
This is a modified water bomb base. That's all it is. And the technique is in the dropping. You have it like that, and then you separate your fingers.